Everybody, welcome back to the Point Three podcast. We are your favorite trio of hosts, Lou, Spider Brando, and myself, Hero Scroll, coming at you with the first installment of Fantastic June, where we're going to be talking about a Fantastic Four storyline each week this month, starting off with the 6-issue miniseries of Fantastic Four Life Story. Whoosh. It doesn't have the same effect.
It doesn't have.
Yeah.
No, you gotta like stretch it and come back.
Yeah,
It's like an in and out. It's got to be an in and out.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
Fair enough.
But Fantastic Four Life Story came out in 2021 following the success of the life story format of a Spider-Man life story that came out in 2019. For those that don't know, it is basically what would happen if the heroes aged as the years went on from their debut. So in the 60s, all the way to the current day in 2010. Life story focusing on basically one bigger storyline on what if the Fantastic Four found out that Galactus was coming and they had that information. What would they do with it? What paths would it lead our heroes down? Some good for some bad for others, potentially. We're going to get into it right now. SB, I'm going to kick it over to you first. What did you think about Fantastic Four Life Story?
I thought it was a great recap of 60 years of Fantastic Four into 6 issues. And as someone kind of newer to the Fantastic Four comics, I got everything I wanted in there. We got their nice character intro in the beginning with issue 1. And kind of going through their early years. And I thought the whole kind of build up to Galactus was really cool. Instead of kind of just one and dunning him, it felt like more threatening. And just going through all their history, Silver Surfer, Doom, Galactus, Franklin was awesome to see. Just seeing the team grow as they grew older was cool, and kind of them like disembarking throughout later years. I thought it was awesome. It was really, really good. And some may say it doesn't encapsulate the life story title, but I think it does, because they literally go through their life story, and it kind of like shows Reed in the beginning, kind of like he's dedicating his life to wanting to stop Galactus, and we'll get into that. But it goes through all their lives of the team individually and as a team at the same time. So I don't see how it doesn't fit that at all. But overall, I thought it was really good. The artwork was freaking amazing. Every panel had some insane drawings on there, and a lot of character designs were just amazing. Doom's is beautiful. Silver Surfer's panels and like cosmic backgrounds were just beautiful.
It's funny. Back in last September, I think we started the road to Fantastic Four, actually, and we read the original series, and then going from that art to this art was just, oh my god, mind blowing.
It felt like it encapsulated some of it though, with how like colorful and how like just in like a more 3D way nowadays.
Yeah, it felt like it modernized like some of the great aspects that we got from, back in the 60s plus. But the thing for me for this story is I loved it when I read it the first time. In rereading it in preparation for this, I literally fell in love with this story all over again. Like, shameless plug, go listen to our OP character conversations that we just had about the MCU, especially specifically around the Russos and how emotional arcs really dominated the end of the Infinity Saga. That's really what this felt like to me in so many ways, of those emotional arcs that these characters that we know and love are going on, in basically in honoring of their past story, but really taking that chunk of history, as Spider Brando said, and really like reimagining it, but still keeping all the core aspects of it on display in what was a fairly quick read for the most part. But the stakes were high. There was tons of love. There was tons of loss. There was tons of just moments that grabbed you and made you feel. And for me, that's one of the number one things whenever I watch or read something. Like, how do you feel in this? Do you feel emotion? Does it invoke something inside of you? This did from the very first page all the way until the end.
This is one of those that like it sticks with you. And to that point, I think since I also read it back when we first started the road to, it's one of those that I just go back to every now and then. I've read it at this point like legitimately 4 times since then. And each time I take something else out of it. And I try to focus like on a different character's perspective and try to really think about why Mark Russell, the writer, chose to go about this route. Because a lot of people, interestingly, if you've seen the discourse around this book, a lot of people don't like it. They compare it heavily to Spider-Man life story. But I think this takes it through the route of a very much like Spider-Man life story is a celebration of the lore of Spider-Man and the character in general, but much more the lore. And they try, Chip Zdarsky does a great job of boiling that lore down into key moments that like would definitely affect Spider-Man in his life. Fantastic Four really focuses in on the human aspect of these characters, which is why maybe for some the action is lacking a little bit. Maybe for some that's what's kind of scary about it, is that I think in one way or another all of us can see ourselves in one way or another in each member of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's a scary thing. And so I think all that to say props to the writers, or Mark Russell for the writer to be able to invoke that emotion. And really, again, it stays with you. It stays with you big time. It's one of those books that you just think about every so often.
Yeah.
And that emotion, I feel like very few books have given me that kind of emotion.
And it's funny too, because we're coming off the heels of reading some really strong stories, like some really strong stories. If you follow the channel, you know what we're talking about. But the first 4 issues, to the point, there's one major theme and emotion that you can latch onto that coincides with each character, whether that's obsession with Reed, not being seen with Sue, being seen from Johnny and Ben's perspective, but then are you deserving or worthy? What's missing from your life? And if you do have that, can you hold on to it? Are you worthy of it? And when you roll through each of those stories that are kind of subplots that fall under this whole looming threat of Galactus is coming, it's like you have a doomsday clock that's ticking, and it's like, what would you do in life? Like, how would your life be lived? And it's very comparable, and you get different perspectives that are peppered in, whether that's kind of coinciding with real life things, like especially in the beginning when you have JFK and the whole arms race, and then you get the Cold War, like, Reed, we need you to do this. Reed, we need you to do that. And he's like, that's great, but like Galactus is coming, and they're like, you're just a crazy science guy. So then getting to the point where it's like, it's almost like Y2K for those that maybe remember, where it's like when midnight hits, are we all gone? The Mayan calendar runs out. Like, what happens? Oh my gosh. Like, we get some of those feelings in real life of like, there may be an end. Who are you in this world? And what would you do at the last moments that you have? And it's really cool to see this portrayed in the Marvel universe through some of 4 and potentially 5 after July of the most iconic characters that we've gotten. So again, awesome story, really awesome story. But here, I'll throw it back to you. What were some of your favorite moments throughout this?
Oh man, this is hard. It's hard to answer because there's a lot. But the one thing that, and we were talking about it beforehand, but the one thing that will forever stick out with me is issue 3, where that issue goes through the focus of Human Torch. And throughout all of it, he's through this story, when we start, he's the irresponsible one, the young one, and now he's grown up to be more responsible. He has this relationship with Franklin, and he's helping him and taking care of him and really guiding him in a way that Reed isn't at this point in his life, in like very formative years of his life. And then ultimately the story, or that issue, ends with Johnny giving up his life to stop a nuke. And it gets the best of him. And it's just the fact that how they portray his internal monologue of like, do I matter to people? Will I be remembered? And again, the ending panel, everybody's at his funeral and he's talking about, he's like, hey, I know at some point everybody has to go. And he's like, I just hope I leave when people still want me around.
Yeah.
But if I don't, that's okay because things just keep going. And like, there's something super bittersweet about that, where I think almost everybody can think of someone that you've lost or you've separated from in your life, and whether it be you just growing distant from a friend and thinking, how do I still matter to certain people? The answer is sometimes no, and that hurts. But like, I don't know, that issue 3 is a masterclass in writing to me.
Yeah, I love that they captured that aspect of Johnny from the beginning stages of like even like way back when he's first on the go in the negative zone. Like, I was given these specific powers. Like, I was cursed. Is it a blessing or is it a curse type of thing? And now that we're known, like, I'm more than just the sideshow. I'm more than just a good looking guy who can be the quarterback on the football team. I'm more than just the guy who's here for your entertainment. Like, I am somebody. And I really resonated with that, especially in his, and it was nice to see that like he did get a legacy, like, and he was remembered and he was important and still came back around in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts all of them to see them go, and everybody's at his funeral, and like, it's truly heartbreaking. And again, it mirrors the very real world, or not very real world, but the comic world of when he did give up his life in Hickman's Fantastic Four, where like a lot of people didn't ever really see like any core member of the Four dying, but like Johnny being the one that is your comedic relief does stand out a lot. And for him to give up his life in such a heroic way, it has kind of become a big part of his character now. And Life Story continues this in a way that I think is more impactful than Hickman's Fantastic Four. In a way, not that isn't any less impactful. It's just this one will stick with you more because it's easier to digest in that one read through.
Yeah. SP, what about you, man? What was one of your favorite parts of this?
Torn between, I think my favorite issue was 4. I love the Johnny issue. That one hit me hard. Like, it hit very hard. But I think issue 4 stood out to me because it was just coming right off of Johnny and getting like things perspective on everything. And one of the last panels in there when he was trying to save, when he was fighting Silver Surfer, saying how he was just fighting for everything he loved, even if he dies, and asked himself if that what they call redemption. And I thought that was really cool because he was like going down with, he knew he lost Johnny. The Fantastic Four were kind of like broken up, and he wanted to just do everything he could to try to save the world, and thought that that was a chance at redemption for becoming such a like rock. I thought that issue was really good, but I think what really hooked me into the story was not hooked. When when the other people besides Reed, like when the Thing, and more people saw Galactus for the first time and actually started believing him, and like that really felt like the stakes were truly real for everybody, and that kind of like elevated the whole like scale of the story for me when that first happened.
Yeah. No, I think that leads right into my favorite part of the story. Because I think we have our first like kind of climax to where they thought Galactus was coming and they're like, this is it. And they're like, wait a second, this is moving way too fast. And Reed finally got his project greenlit. They felt like they were prepared. They felt like they're like, we know Galactus is coming. People believe in him now. And then bam, everything is just wham, 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 wham. Who shows up? Silver Surfer. And he's like, y'all, what you tried to do, I saw it and it's useless. And oh, by the way, I'm like 1/1000th of the power of Galactus, and like it's hopeless. Just know he's coming. He'll be here. I'm gonna tell you when, and you're dead. There's nothing you can do about it. And by the way, I'm going to stick around just to like check the place out, just to scope it out. And like, there's nothing you can do about it. And it just went from feeling like the build of like, is Reed going to be right? What's happening? And all this sort of stuff happens. And then ultimately, Surfer is the one that, boom, blows it all up. And then you're like, but what about Galactus? Because we know Galactus is coming. What are they going to do? And there's just this moment of like hopelessness and despair. But at the same time, the art for Surfer looks so cool. You see the looks on all the Fantastic Four members' faces of like, what are we going to do? And it was like the embodiment of hopelessness in this story. It almost reminds me of like Independence Day when like the UFO shows up and people are like, what are we supposed to do? Like, we put our best foot forward. The Fantastic Four are public heroes. We know that the Avengers exist. We know that all these heroes exist, and they can't even stop it. That's it. Like literally everyone like put GG's in the chat and they were just like, send. It's over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought that was a very impactful moment where I stopped and I'm like, when you eventually get down the road for the Surfer's connection that he has and what he talks to Reed before they get to kind of like the end climax of the Galactus part of the story, it just doubles down on him saying like, you've known that your destruction is imminent. You've known. And I'm here to deliver that message to you. Like, I'm the messenger, but also I could destroy you if I wanted to. I just thought it was super powerful.
And there's something unique about that where like you don't have too many superhero stories where everybody's like truly helpless. And most of the time it's like everybody has some sort of hope or they're trying to chase something or trying to make something to be like, oh man, we need to get him with, the Infinity Gauntlet or whatever. It's hard. It's going to be really, really hard, but like we can do it. Here it's like you've had decades upon decades upon decades of just failure.
Yeah.
Not working. And it's costing you. And I think the focus on Reed's character is fantastic. Yeah. No pun intended. But like how much it costs Reed truly to like obsess over this.
Yeah.
And it cost him his family. And seeing how that does ultimately elevate the other characters, how it does elevate Johnny to again become, accept more of the responsibilities, to allow Sue to not be invisible to the world, to allow her to become her own person, to allow Ben to really find himself in his own way. And it's just super interesting how they take what the Fantastic Four deal with, but ultimately kind of sometimes, probably 50% of the time, I would say, push those kinds of things to the side. They've always been present. They've always bickered, but like putting these things to the side because they know they have to win. What happens if they don't? What happens if they can't get over these things?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like this is one cohesive story, right? It's not they hit a mini reset button because a new writer took over, or we need to market this to new people, or we need to push new stories or anything like that. Like you're sitting in this story and these characters are going to evolve over time, but Reed is central to this entire story. The entire story. And again, the stakes get higher and higher and higher as time goes by. And to your point, they say like, what did it cost? And, you get that Thanos of like everything, right? They show throughout it. It costs them money where they joke about him and they're like, you don't decline a government contract. That's like, that is the money. That's what you do. Yeah. You want funding. I'm giving it to you, but you got to do it on our terms. And Reed's like, no, it's going to cost you. He goes on the talk show. People think he's kind of a clown. And they're like, you're the crazy scientist. Like, hey, probably don't talk about the Galactus stuff today. Like, talk about something fun. The Fantastic Four are fun. And he's like, I'm dealing with a threat of the world's going to end. My wife just left me, and you want me to put a smile and go on stage? Ridiculous. I would never do it. I wouldn't even have shown up if I were him. And then you go through, and it costs him time. What, Ben wakes him up, and I don't know if it's like 4, I think it is, where like he's laying in bed and oversleeps. I think maybe it was Franklin's wedding or something like that. And like his face is all old, his hair's gray, and then he like jumbles himself up to look like, to put back on that face to be like everything's fine, but like he's stressed, he's pushing himself too far to the limits. Like it is crazy what he goes through to get to the point of, again, getting nerfed by Silver Surfer. But ultimately, I think Reed in the end, I think they did kind of close this story in a very cool way for him, and I felt like was fitting, especially when like you show his consciousness, how Franklin's trying to try with him. The Mad Thinker's AI robot that he basically, recreated and reconstructed the head, which led to an actually interesting climax and resolution in issue 6 with Doom. But Reed was top notch in this.
You said that Reed pushed himself, and I almost chimed in and said he stretched himself too thin. But I don't like it.
I should have. If I had a nickel for every time someone said Reed is
You have like a million nickels.
I was gonna say we'd have a lot.
We would have a lot more merchandise for the Point 3 podcast.
Yeah, no, but again, like we say in every single comic talk video that we've had, if you haven't read this yet, go read it. Hopefully, we've made this sound interesting enough for you to go seek it out. It's on Marvel Unlimited. It's in a trade paperback. You can pick it up, or if you really want to, if you're that dedicated of a fan, go track down the single issues. But read it, because it does. We don't do justice to these stories by talking about them in only around 20 to 30 minutes. Even if we talked about them for 5 hours, we wouldn't do them justice. Mm-hmm. So go read these mediums for yourself. Go read these stories, so that way you can really like feel the emotions that we're talking about, and you can see these awesome panels and read the awesome writing by these people. But gentlemen, like we did with our other series for Superman, for Fantastic June, with Fantastic4 Steps coming out in around a month and a half ish, we're getting very close to the date. What do we want to see them adapt from life story into the film? Lou, I'm going to throw it back over to you. You go first.
Listen, y'all, when you read this story and you heard what Hero said about issue 3, Joseph Quinn, yes, my boy Eddie Munson, he sacrificed himself in Stranger Things. So when he was casted, I was like, oh, maybe they're actually going to do something like this. I do think there is a world where we do get that sacrificial aspect portrayed from him as time goes on in the story, especially as we get to Galactus. I don't know what they're going to use. But I would not be surprised if there is something that happens where maybe he doesn't ultimately die at the end, but he goes through that moment of, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the greater good. And maybe he gets a save somehow, some way from Reed, potentially. Maybe Reed needs some redeeming at that point, and that could be a way that they tie that together. But one of the biggest things is a Human Torch sacrifice scene. I think it'd be huge. The other thing I really would like to see adapted from this is the strength of Sue. I think in this, especially in issue 2, she very much stands up for women's rights and equality. She takes the forefront against Doom when he first shows up at the UN as a brand new hero. She's the one that steps up and makes it happen. I don't think they're going to do the Namor stuff in this at all, but I think with her being pregnant with Franklin and kind of showing, she is somebody and she's a core member, and she is a core member of the Fantastic Four. Those are the two big things I'm hoping that we can walk away with is, Johnny proving himself and showing that he does have value and that his legacy would be great. But also Sue knowing that she is an integral part of the team, and that she's seen not only by Reed, but, by us as fans as a huge member, in addition to the MCU.
Hopefully they do that, and I'm pretty sure they are, based on a lot of the comments from like Vanessa Kirby from what she said, where I think they came out in an interview where she was like, if Reed's like the most smartest man, she's the most emotionally intelligent person in the world. And I'm like, that's nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to really balance Reed out in that way.
Yeah.
Being like a mother figure to a lot of people too. Not in a weird way, in like the most genuine way possible.
Wana's got that locked on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think she could really step up and be that for the whole team. And I think should.
Yeah.
Shout out to Vanessa Kirby on actually going on her way to motherhood. She is pregnant in real life now. So congrats to her.
Yeah, did see that. Congratulations. If you watch this, Vanessa Kirby.
Like and subscribe.
What was your favorite hero?
I really want to see them do the tension aspect of the team, where I feel like in the previous three movies, excuse me, they've done it just based on like the problem that's going on around them, but they never really show what Life Story shows where what does Reed's obsession really get him? What does Johnny's like crass and like just out there attitude get him as well? It's something they've done in the comics for ages, but I would love to see them do it, especially the way that Life Story does it. But the relationship between Ben and Reed, I think here is awesome.
Yeah.
It's very similar in certain ways, a blasphemy, but in certain ways to Fantastic, where it's like, you turned me into this and you promised you were going to help me and you didn't, because they are best friends. And seeing how friends would handle that type of tension would be really cool. And that would also allow really for them to explore Ben's more like, do I deserve happiness because of how I look? And I think that kind of a message will send Ben the Thing as one of the best MCU characters.
I really hope they do it. Ebon's really good in The Bear. Like really good at that. Like really good at that. Where like fight your family, but then I love you at the end of the day type of thing. I'm in on that too.
Going off of what you brought up with the Thing, I would definitely like to see him have a really cool like story and go on his whole is he worthy. But I would like to have him have his own kind of redemption moment, like that panel I talked about earlier, where I know in the trailer we kind of see like Johnny go after Surfer up into this like stratosphere thing. But I would like to see Thing kind of have his own trial against Silver Surfer in that, and kind of call for redemption. But another one that I would definitely like to see is a couple time jumps throughout the movie, because I think it would be cool if I think it would put the scale of Galactus even more, knowing that he's a threat for X amount of years. Especially that we know that this is an alternate universe. This is like the perfect time for them to do that. And who knows, maybe explore Baby Franklin for a little bit. It gives us more time with that if they do time skips. Just gives us more time to explore their lore. And since it's not like a true origin story for this universe. And I think it would really build on like the craziness between the craziness between Reed obsessing over Galactus for all those years, to where he'll set up Doomsday to kind of like a interesting scenario with maybe Sue getting tired of Reed, kind of like in this panel, or kind of like not getting tired of feeling invisible. That we might get that throughout Doomsday and throughout their arc in the MCU.
Yeah. Real quick to that point, I do think you have a really good point there, especially with how they use Franklin. Because in Life Story, Surfer says the whole reason why Galactus is coming to you, it's because of Reed and his consciousness and their connection that they have. And he doubles down on like basically why I became a herald is like, I'm an astral searcher like you are, whatever he says from that perspective of like, basically you're calling Galactus here, and not everyone can do that. And I think if they put that on Franklin, and maybe a combination of like maybe Reed and Franklin or something along those lines, I think that would be a very cool way to kind of show that he's a beacon for Galactus. And also, if that is the case in this, and let's say they do move into 616, it's very plausible that that's an easy way that they can write it so that Galactus leaves their universe and chases after Franklin. Because Galactus doesn't take no. Like it's if he wants it, he gets it, type of thing. And he's traveled the cosmos to get what it is that he's wanted. So if he's got to figure out a way, some way, somehow to swap universes, or maybe he's already done that. I think that'd be a legit way to make that story make sense.
I think it would be very cool to see that way, especially because it would allow baby Franklin to play a big part in it. Since we know he'll be a baby, like it's kind of hard to like, how do you include this baby and make him a big part of the film without making him feel like forced into it? But I think if you allow him to be that sort of like lighthouse that Galactus starts looking for, it'll add a very interesting layer to whatever happens. And if based on the synopsis is anything to kind of go off of, it does kind of seem like they're heading that way. And based on things that Reed has said in the trailer, where he's like, I stretched, the walls of space too thin, or whatever he says in the first full trailer. I think that would make Galactus also very, very much interesting too. Having him have like multiple motives instead of one.
Agree, and I think you could add layers to Surfer as well, because if Reed is experimenting and maybe he's taking that layer down, of maybe Galactus would have ultimately have shown up there, but you would have had a mature Franklin or a mature character who's can maybe do something about it, right? But like, because of what he does, he's kind of shining that light on, and then obviously the Surfer's there basically to take the baby. Like, maybe Surfer's not there for the world harvesting. It's, you have an option. You either give me the baby, or then he's going to come either way, and here's Earth. Like, that's going to be the cost. Because even when you look at when Doom's talking to Surfer in the end, because he talks to Reed and is like, hey, do you want to be a herald? And he's like, no, I decline. He does have dialogue with Doom, and Doom's like, listen, how about you guys give me ultimate rule over Earth, one world under Doom. I'll give you 500 million people. I'll feed. It's not about it's about conquest, right? You guys want energy? I'll give you energy. I don't care. They're expendable. Here, I'll harvest all this life energy for you. You can have it. Make it a continuous source. And Surfer's like, interesting. Huh. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you can't do that. It's just like, I'll take it under consideration, but you're not the same person as Reed. Just so we're clear, you're different, which I think to us is being like, you're the bad guy. I get you're the bad guy, but no one's ever tried this before. I mean, we'll take it under consideration.
Yeah.
So
I'll ask.
Yeah. I can ask. I'm gonna see what the boss says. But
he might say no, but like, I've never had this before, so like, I guess.
Yeah. But also, one thing to make note of that I want to say that I think they may take from this is when you see Surfer at the end. And if you've made it to this point, real quick spoiler. So skip ahead 10 seconds. But Surfer gets the power stripped from Galactus and basically is like, great job. By the way, there's no reward for you for what you've done. You're done. See ya. Zenla into space and just float away. Dude, he's like, no. I do think there's a world where, that could be a catalyst for Norrin to come into the fold in the future and be like, take me as the next herald. Because maybe she protected him. There's a real story to be made here, folks. So I think they could do something juicy with that.
It would also allow just for other heralds in general.
Yeah.
And a cool way to introduce Terrax and I forget the Firestorm.
Yeah.
All these other Firelord, whatever the heck the guy with the Q-tip that's on fire is.
Not the DC Firestorm.
Yeah, whatever his name
I went to the boys a lamplighter, dude. I went all over the place right there.
His name's escaping me, but yeah, no, that would be a cool way to just introduce all of them, and you have like a really cool and unique way to bring in these heralds instead of being like, well, where's everybody else? Yeah, it's just like I pick when I want.
Yep,
I'm done with
that way. I'm done with you now. Insert the fucking the Toy Story meme.
There needs to be a post on it. Yeah.
Plot twist: Galactus is a Marvel legend that Andy just abandoned. Got the power cosmic.
Battle World, we get a pizza planet. No, I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. The claw.
Ooh.
Anyways, enough of a Toy Story break. No, but there's so much that they could take from this
Yeah.
story in particular. It's very interesting. In the stories that we have planned out for this series for Fantastic June, I think this is the one that they can honestly look at and be like, let's just make that. In a way. Not fully, but in a way. And they can take a lot of this, put it in a first movie, and it's gonna work big time. Really, really well.
Really well.
That kind of ties in. There's one hope that not really for Fantastic Four because I don't think Doom is going to be in there, but now that you bring up in the future movie, there's a one I now need to see our Doom J say a certain line to anyone. I don't care who he says it to, but Doom in this book explaining about he's explaining to his ranking general, explaining to one of his commanders to find the ranking general and have him executed. And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, okay, Your Highness." And then Doom goes, "Then have yourself executed too." I need that. I need
Dude.
that to be in
Doom.
MCU. That's just insane. You telling your freaking commander that's powerful enough to like in your ranking to go find someone and execute them, and then tell him GG to go next. That's another freaking Andy toy drop. I don't need you anymore. Like that's some menacing shit right there. And I think Doomsday's got to do some crazy stuff, or maybe even post credit scene in this movie could do it. But I need to see that level of Doom in out of our Doom J.
Hey, I'm gonna
I
call him
can't
out,
stop calling him our Doom J now. Ever since you
dude.
brought it up in chat, ever
It's
since you said it
no,
in Discord, I
it's
was dying
fantastic.
when I first read that.
It's
No pun
fantastic.
intended.
But really, really, really quick, how did you guys feel about Victor Von Doom in Life Story? Here, I'll throw it to you first.
Very interesting the way that at first he came off as this ally to Reed, and Reed is so blinded by the obsession and the fact that like I have to figure this out, that someone finally gets me and wants to help me. Like he's so giddy to just accept the fact, but like everybody else is like, dude, he's using you. The red flags are clear as day to them. And Reed is so blind to the fact just because someone is finally like, hey, buddy, you're right. Let's go fix this.
Yeah.
And how he ultimately uses that to just further his own goals. And I think it's super cool and interesting because they don't him being able to acknowledge Reed's intelligence is always like a big point of contention in the book, like how he constantly wants to have a one up on him. Here, them being him being like, I can lay low and let you be like, yeah, you're the one that's in charge. Something super sinister about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And I thought it was interesting to where, like, if you pulled Doom out of this story, I think you can get away with it. Not necessarily having him the whole thing, because I think he starts off nice and ends obviously and has like kind of like it's Doom's arc in the end of it. And he kind of is in the shadows. But SB, what did you think about how the story ended with Doom obviously having the scene that you were talking about of basically execute that general who messed up and then execute yourself? And then he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And I'm going to show up and go to the front lines and pull something crazy to where I'm going to have kamikaze Doom bots all over the place. What do you think about his vibe throughout the story, especially at the end? And what do you think about his design in this as well?
The design was top notch right there. I loved how detailed his suit was, how the mask looked. Everything just looked awesome. Latveria and Doomstat was cool designed. It just was beautiful. But I like Doom throughout the entire book. Um, I thought the ending was pretty satisfying with him. The whole execute yourself thing is just badass insanity right there. I think that's just crazy to tell one of your freaking commanders. But he felt very menacing throughout this. Even when he attacked the UN, all the other heroes were like, "What the heck is going on?" And like they had their hard time fighting him. So overall, I thought it was very, very well done.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly could see if this life story Doom became God Emperor Doom, I'm like 100%. No question.
I can see that.
He very much feels like throughout this entire story, every single person and thing is beneath me. I am the one true ruler. Y'all are weak. I am power. And I want more power. Even so, I'll humble myself to the Silver Surfer to say, I'll bow to Galactus. And you're like, yeah, right, buddy. Yeah, right. You're just looking for a way to weasel your way in so you can snatch it. Like, that is how this Doom feels. But he also feels like a final boss. Even in the very beginning, where it's like, yo, V1 Doom, where he shows up and like, yo, you got cracked by a shield by Sue. And it's like, yeah, I did learn from my mistakes. By the way, have a grandmaster plan. Oh, by the way, no one can stop me. And I am absolute power. One way or another, it is Doom. And although he doesn't have a massive part in the story, every part that he's in, every panel, every piece of dialogue, his bubbles just stick out to me so much. Like, seeing him and Silver Surfer on the same page was like, it was amazing. It was a dream. It was a dream for me. And I'm like, I need this. I need this. So tying that back into what I hope that we get, I wish that we got, an interaction between Surfer and Doom just being like, everyone's afraid of you, but I'm not. Better than you. And I could ride that surfboard probably better than you can. Like, that's how I feel like he feels. Like, all ego, bro. Ethan Page.
Just imagine the sick visual that type of Doom could get if this is what RDJ's Doom gets, where it's Galactus is in the 616. If they use him in Doomsday, and he's just standing at the feet looking up at Galactus, and just says something like, "I'll take you on," or like, "You are beneath me."
Yeah.
As he's I hate you 3000. Oh, crowd goes wild. Movie here, popcorn everywhere. No, but just the insane visuals we could get out, aura farming, as the kids say, from a Doom like that. Yeah, inject that in a Doomsday, because I just think RDJ could do it. Because let's be honest, like RDJ and Iron Man had some really cool moments where you're just like, is Iron Man like the coolest character alive?
Dude.
At that point, no, he wasn't. But like in 2008, heck yeah, he was.
For sure. You're telling me they couldn't pull off an Iron Man 3 with Doombots? Come on now. Versus Galactus, and he's just going off. And issue 6, y'all. Issue 6. Awesome. Also, fun fact, a lot of nationality for Doom. Latveria. The few panels that we get, the countdown for Doomsday, like, it was very cool. It wasn't like they're kind of hiding it outside. Like, it was very cool, subtle world building for Doom's part of this. I definitely think there are core aspects of Doom that they can definitely take from this and apply to our Doom J in the future for however many appearances that he has. But like, there's a world where like Doomsday felt like issue 6, where you're like, Galactus is gone. Now it's Doom's turn. Like, he's taking advantage of the situation. What are we doing?
He's taking that power vacuum and he's like, it's mine.
Yeah.
I put myself in there. Yeah. Again, life story. If you haven't read it, go read it, because there's so much they can pull from. There's so much that it seems like they're pulling from. So if you want to kind of have an idea as to where maybe potentially Fantastic Four First Steps is going to go in 53 days.
Ooh.
You got some time. You got some time to read those 6 issues. They're very quick. Can't recommend them enough from all 3 of us. Gentlemen, let's leave it there on this installment of Fantastic June. Again, going to be coming at you every week with a Fantastic Four story. Stay tuned to the social media so you can find out what those stories are. Everybody, gentlemen, we have been your favorite trio of hosts, Lou, Spider Brando, and Hero Scroll. until the next Fantastic June, make sure you keep doing the 3 most important things. SB, hit him with it. What is it?
Well, keep watching Fantastic Four.
Mm.
Keep reading Fantastic Four. Maybe you don't want to watch Fantastic Four. What am I saying?
Yeah, I was gonna
Anyway,
say,
keep nerding out about Fantastic Four.
yeah. Those two definitely for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we will see you in the next one.